There's an old saying in the sense that if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. Now, recently, Wolfenstein Youngblood has gotten a lot of negative reviews. I personally still stand with my opinion of the game. It's not the best of the franchise per se. Even Wolfenstein: The Old Blood has a more prominent effect on me as a sense, not to mention a personal life, but at the same time, and when it comes to the franchise. But I would say Wolfenstein Blood is not as bad as people make it out to be. Sure, there's microtransactions. At the same time, the gameplay is a little bit wonky. I'm a blood and gore type of guy, so if I shoot a Nazi in the head, I want to see the blood spew out everywhere, and Wolfenstein Youngblood doesn't give me that. Because all the characters are bullet spongy. I think the franchise, to some degree, in the storytelling was a little bit bland, mostly because it's a side story. BJ Blazkowicz was hardly there. There's hardly any cinematic, any gameplay scenes like when you're obviously you're not playing. And I think that the characters could potentially, like I said, the girls are not necessarily badass because they're women, but because they've been trained their whole lives. At the same time, I think the writers could have possibly done something better to make them seem more badass than kind of annoying. Because again, they're kind of annoying to some degree, but I'm not mad at the fact that they're able to kill Nazis on the get-go because again, they've been training their whole lives. But I think they come off as a little bit annoying sometimes, especially the way they communicate and the way they kind of the way they talk sometimes to each other. It can be really annoying. The gameplay as well, it could be a little problematic in the sense that, like I said, well, Nazis in this case are really bullet spongy, meaning you have to literally drain a whole clip on your either your assault rifle or your shotgun just to kill one Nazi. And I think that's really problematic because in previous games, all it took is like 2 or 3 bullets depending on where you shot them, and they could die. Like again, like even regardless of difficulty. But at the same time, I really don't know if this game, I don't know if this game should really be the staple of what should go on with the franchise. Like, I don't think this game should be what people want to aim for when it comes to making a game, especially a Wolfenstein game. So when I see a title like this, it makes me kind of worried because as much as I kind of like the character sort of the new ones like Jessica and Sophia Blazkowicz, I think that if you want to make a game, not just make it a good story, because again this story was a little bit lackluster, not as much as I hoped not as good as I thought it was gonna be, but it wasn't bad either. But the problem that I had was the game mechanics. Trust me, like as much as I kind of like killing Nazis in Wolfenstein, these Nazis were a little bit more troublesome in the sense that I kind of found it a hassle to kill Nazis. In many cases, I actually, for the first time playing this game, I actually made it my mission to avoid enemies throughout the entire mission. It was just that annoying to fight them. In previous installations of Wolfenstein, I didn't care about stealth. If I saw a Nazi, I will dual wield shotguns and I will blow everyone to pieces. I didn't care about stealth. But in this one, they made it my mission to literally skip through as many enemies as possible because I didn't want to waste my ammo. I didn't want to deal with a bunch of annoying, bullet spongy enemies. But like I said, it was mostly the gameplay that I had a problem with. The story, it was okay, not the best, but at least it provided some sort of insight. I think the writers could have done a little bit better to do service to Jessica and Sophia, but that's just my opinion. But when I see a title like this, it really is worrisome in the sense that I do not want these aspects in the sense of the gameplay elements. I do not want the bullet spongy enemies. I do not want them in future Wolfenstein games, especially Wolfenstein 3. Because again, that's like the last game of the trilogy, of the main trilogy. So I do not want to be killing bullet spongy Nazis in Wolfenstein 3. I don't think that's something that I would like to see. But anyways, I ranted on quite a bit now. So let's read the article. The article's from the Washington Post, and it reads: "The risky Wolfenstein Youngblood may point to the future of the franchise." This ain't your Gen X daddy's Wolfenstein. Just a few hours in, the latest installment of Wolfenstein, a series that has long lived on the single-track rails of a first-person shooting game, opens up. There's a hub area, quest givers, a branching open-world map with secrets and hidden level enemies. The Wolfenstein games, the progenitor of the most popular gaming genre in the world, have usually been straightforward point-and-shoot affairs. Wolfenstein Youngblood is breaking down walls and peering into spaces owned by games like Destiny and The Division, and it sounds as if this could be the future of the franchise. I want to take a break here for a bit. And here's the thing, look, I don't mind an open world game. I honestly do appreciate that I can explore a little bit in Wolfenstein Youngblood. I'm not just, limited to just a certain area, meaning that if I want to go to, let's say, I think it's called Victory Boulevard, if I want to go over there, I can travel there not being limited by a mission. The problem was that, for example, if I were to complete a mission in Victory Boulevard, and then come back and then being told by the same NPC that there's another mission back there. It's kind of annoying because I have to travel a lot, too much traveling, and then enemies reset, so it becomes really annoying. I don't mind the open world, but at least give us all the missions in this area at once. I would appreciate that. I wouldn't have to constantly go back and forth, because I think that the reason why this game is literally like 20 hours at best is because I have to constantly travel back and forth. I think that's annoying to me, but let's continue. Let's see. We try to reward our game developers a little bit and try a few things outside of our comfort zone, MachineGames executive producer and co-founder Jörg Gustafsson told the Washington Post. Youngblood is innately a lower risk effort for experimentation. It's a much more shorter game than previous entries and has been priced accordingly at $30. Developer MachineGames partnered with sibling outfit Arcane Studios, most famous for the Dishonored stealth series and more recently the open-ended survival horror game Prey. MachineGames also has roots in open-ended gameplay. The studio was founded in 2009 by 7 former employees of Starbreeze Studios, which created the Chronicles of Riddick games starring Vin Diesel. That series won acclaim for its more visceral, intimate approach of first-person combat. The DNA of both studios is built into Youngblood, but it's a pivot from the core dynamics of a first-person shooter to something more intricate that stands out the most in this title. We wanted to combine that with our key strength that we've iterated for so many years with the immersive combat and strong focus on story, Gustafsson said. The change could be a striking one for the fans looking for the simplicity of a traditional first-person shooter, but even though Gustafsson acknowledges it was a risk, the role-playing elements in Youngblood like a skill tree and weapon customization may show up in future Wolfenstein games. It's a step in the direction where we might absolutely use this in future products, Gustafsson said. It's likely we might do something similar. Our King Studios' knack for level design is evident, with secret indoor areas to discover with some atmospheric storytelling, and a feeling of vertically that keeps you running and jumping up into the third-story floors of certain buildings. I want to take a break here. When it comes to the RPG element of Youngblood, I personally wasn't annoyed when it came to cosmetic features. In the case of, for example, armor. I like the design of some armor. Some people didn't like it, but for me, I think my favorite one would be the Black Death armor. It's all black from head to toe. I know it seems kind of simple, but for me, just the color of the armor in black, and not to mention it's really shiny, I like that. But the thing is that when it comes to the RPG elements, I'm not a big fan of it in the case of gunplay. For example, I'll give you a good example. You could say that kind of like has an RPG element to the game. In this case, for example, Halo Reach. It's not an RPG game per se, but you can customize your character. You can customize the shoulder armor, the chest armor, the helmet that you have, and it goes into the gameplay. Meaning that if the armor that you have customized for your multiplayer experience, that's the armor you will see in the campaign. Again, not necessarily an RPG type of function. Because again, you do customize your character. But it doesn't affect the gunplay, meaning that if you wear the biggest, bulkiest armor in Halo Reach, you will do the exact same amount of damage to an elite with an assault rifle than with let's say the most skinniest, smallest, thinnest armor in the game. It won't affect the damage you put out. In the case of Wolfenstein Youngblood, the armor again it's cosmetic. It doesn't do much. It doesn't do anything except it just makes you look different. But when it comes to, let's say, for example, the way games work, I think that you should just leave the guns, for example, just the way they work in the previous games. Again, I don't think some enemies should require certain guns to kill them, because again, switching guns constantly, especially in a fast-paced first-person shooter, just doesn't work. It really doesn't. If you play the Wolfenstein game, it's pretty much fast-paced, especially when you're fighting and when you're in a gunfight. You don't have time to be switching to pistol, then shotgun, then assault rifle, then the laser craft work, then the diesel craft work, then the pistol again, and all that nonsense. No. Again, it doesn't really work. In the case of other Wolfenstein games, in my case, for example, when I play Wolfenstein 2, my preference is the shotgun and the assault rifle. Why? Because the assault rifle does a lot of damage. It has a marksman scope, meaning that if I want to zoom in and do single shots, I can do that because I prefer single shots over fully automatics. And the shotguns, for example, they do a lot more damage at close range. And in many cases, when I'm in close quarters, if stealth doesn't work, I have to shoot my way out. I'd rather just be able to shoot one shot and go, one shot and go, one shot and go. In this case, in Wolfenstein Youngblood, I can't do that, and it's really, really annoying. Anyways, let's keep going. It's a step in a direction where we might actually use this in future products. Gustafsson said it's likely we might do something similar. Arcane Studios' knack for level design is evident. Actually, no, I actually kind of read that already. Anyways, let's keep going. Beyond the introduction of the aforementioned RPG dynamics, there are smaller differences. The enemy notches have numbers and health bars floating over their heads. You need different types of ammo to kill certain types of enemies, which again I find really annoying because I don't think I should be switching from gun to gun every 3 seconds, but that's just me. The game's biggest issues in its initial 4-hour playthrough was how the stealth mechanics and the role-playing dynamics often clashed with classic, fast-paced gameplay of a Wolfenstein title. Worrying about juggling enemy types and health bars can feel counterintuitive to how frantic the combat can seem. Yes, thank you, Washington Post, for calling this out. Like I said, I don't mind the story, I don't mind the new characters. I think that again, they've been trained their whole lives, so them killing Nazis from the get-go, it seems a little bit excusable for me. I think the writing was horrible, but this right here is really, really annoying. I have to switch my guns every 3 seconds during fast-paced combat, and when I could just simply use the same gun to kill everyone in the room. It's really, really annoying. Because imagine this, okay? Let's say, for example, I see one enemy that requires just pistols to shoot, right? I kill him with a pistol. Next thing you know, I have to switch to an enemy that requires an assault rifle. Now I have to spend like 3 seconds to switch my gun. Therefore, while the 3 seconds I'm getting shot at, and then I have to switch that, and I have to aim at that guy, shoot him, and then next thing you know, the other enemy that's shooting at me needs a laser craft work to be killed. So I have to take another 3 seconds while I'm being shot at, and next thing you know, I have to use a laser craft work to kill that guy, and so forth. The point is that I shouldn't be switching my guns every 3 seconds in order to kill just one enemy. I'd rather just use my shotgun. I'm a shotgun kind of guy when it comes to Wolfenstein games. If it's close quarter combat, guess what I'm using? A shotgun. I don't want to use an assault rifle while I'm in a little hospital. And yes, there's actually a hospital in the game. I don't want to be using an assault rifle in a hospital. It's kind of productive for me. I don't know about other people. For me, it's kind of productive to use an assault rifle when it comes to shooting Nazis in a hospital in France. See what I mean? But anyways, let's keep going. And even if the game can be played solo, those number crunching logistics seem more suited to an online cooperative shooter, like the games that inspired Youngblood. Speaking of which, for the first time, Wolfenstein can be played online with another friend. In fact, for the $4 version, your friend can join for free to play either yourself or Jess, the twin daughters of BJ Blazkowicz, the atom of first-person shooter heroes, even if they don't own the game. Okay, we know that already. Stop advertising, Washington Post. Anyways, the focus on cooperative online play, it seems, is not just narrative change either. It's also an attempt to catch the series up to gaming streaming culture. We see how the business is evolving, and we see how a new generation of gamers consumes games in different ways. There's a lot of viewing games participation. Gustafsson said, MachineGames will always be solo. We will always make solo experiences. They must be fun to play, but also fun to watch. We wanted more opportunities for variation and scenarios to play out, not only in the linear fashion we've done previously. Since the game's release last month, it has received mixed feedback. I'm not surprised. While it has garnered decent praise from critics, really? Some prominent online reviewers like YouTuber SkillUp called it an absolute catastrophe. That's his opinion. I don't think it wasn't that bad. Again, it's somewhat passable. The writing could have been better. I don't mind Jessica and Sofia Blazkowicz, but I think the writing could have been better to make them seem less annoying to some degree. Because even then, like I said, even to some degree, I would have expected Jessica and Sofia to become a little bit more serious, knowing that their lives are in danger, but they like to screw around a lot, and I think that's not a realistic thing to do. Obviously, they get a little bit more mature as they get older, and then not really as they get older, but as the game progresses. Because again, in many cutscenes, as farther into the game you see, the cutscenes in the game, the girls become a little bit more serious. Because again, the stakes are high in this one. They don't have backup. They're alone. But anyways, let's keep going. Based on the play to date, Catastrophe seems like a stretch. The addition of microtransactions might be worrying, and it should. But they're not all that intrusive and mean almost nothing for a relatively short game. It would be better to judge MachineGames' ambition on a larger title with more story, more levels, and more ways to let these new RPG elements stretch their legs. That game is in Youngblood, however, and so we look to the future. While there is need for improvement, it seems smart for the studio to tinker with the formula and iron out its kinks before the inevitable. Wolfenstein 3, no fans will agonize much over an offshoot story, but a miss with the main franchise would lead to a far greater outcry. That's how bold will the developers be when BJ Blazkowicz is back in the picture. Now, That's the end of the article. But here's my opinion in the matter. When you're making a video game franchise, especially if you know if it's a trilogy, you want to go out with a bang. You want to make sure that that final game of that trilogy is going to be something people have waited for. It's not good. It shouldn't be a disappointment. For example, Halo 1, for example, I'm gonna look at the trilogy of Halo 1, 2, and 3. Halo 1 started out great. First person shooter, graphics were state of the art at the time when it was released. It got Game of the Year. Fantastic game. Halo 2 didn't get Game of the Year. Again, a lot of competition. But the game stepped it up. The game could let you dual wield. Sure, there was some criticisms on the balance of when it came to multiplayer. But even then, dual wielding in a campaign of Halo, that seems pretty awesome. You can dual wield a pistol with an SMG or with a plasma rifle and then, let's say, a plasma pistol. The possibilities were endless when it came to dual wielding. Endless in the sense that you could dual wield all the single-handed firearms. The thing is that if you wanted to kill elites with a plasma rifle and a pistol, you could do that. The game couldn't limit you that. And that's where a lot of people stepped up. Bungie, they stepped up their game in Halo 2. Now, Halo 3, well, we don't know. A lot of people want to criticize that Halo 3 was not as good. My critique in Halo 3 is just simply the length of the story. But even then, the story went out with a bang. That's pretty much how it ended. It ended with a bang, literally and figuratively. But it was a great ending to pretty much the beloved protagonist of the Halo franchise, which is the Master Chief. It ended on a good tone. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad either. It was relatively good. It was a relatively well-made Halo game. But that's the thing that I'm worried about here. If they're gonna implement things from Wolfenstein Youngblood into Wolfenstein 3, the only things that I would like is just good story writing, meaning that the story makes sense. The characters are not as annoying. I know BJ isn't gonna be annoying because again, the dude's a pretty big badass. I played him for like what, Wolfenstein 2, The New Order, and In the Old Blood. The guy's really well written. But I think that other characters, especially like Jessica and Sophia, should be written a lot better. I'm not saying they shouldn't crack any jokes, but at least I would appreciate if the jokes were a little funny. I laugh at some, and laughing I mean like a chuckle. But anyways, the thing is that the writing became so repetitive. I kept hearing the same thing over and over again. It just got annoying. So I want a little bit more creativity in the writing. Now, when it came to the gaming mechanics, I do not want bullet sponge enemies when it comes to shooting Nazis in a video game. They're really annoying. Like really, let me choose how I want to. Like seriously, like the thing that I like about Wolfenstein in this case is that I can choose how I want my slaughters to happen. If I want to go the stealthy way, I can do that. If I want to go gun-ho with a shotgun and then with an assault rifle, I can do that too. That's my choice. But Wolfenstein Youngblood here kind of made it annoying in the sense that, first of all, I can't dual wield any guns except just the pistols, which is really annoying. That's one thing that I also hated. But at the same time, I don't want to be switching my guns every single 3 seconds just to kill one enemy. If I see 50 Nazis in a room, I'd rather just shoot them all with a shotgun. I shouldn't have to be switching my guns every 3 seconds just to kill one specific enemy. It's really annoying. So the only thing that I think that if they're serious about translating some elements from Youngblood into Wolfenstein 3, the only thing that I think that will make sense will just be better stories. Not really better stories, but better writing. Get rid of the bullet spongy Nazis. I hate that. I think that what they should keep is customizing your weapons, because I think that when you customize weapons, you're a little bit proud of that aspect in the sense that, oh, look at my shotgun. I like the skin. I like these components. I think I like the aspect of the shotgun, not the shotgun, but the weapon customization. I like that. You could personally put details in your own preference. Are you more of a heavy damage type of guy? Guess what? There's certain brands of the parts you can get in the game that actually increase damage, but at the same time at the cost of fire rate. Are you the guy that wants a gun to shoot incredibly fast? Then there's a brand where you can increase your fire rate. But again, that's one thing they should keep. Forget the bullet spongy Nazis. I don't like that. But I think they should keep the customization of your guns. And if you want to add cosmetic customizations, by all means, I'm all down for it. But please leave the bad stuff out. People are criticizing this game because of the RPG elements in the sense that the enemies, they're really annoying to deal with. And again, that's coming from a guy who loves this franchise a lot. And I've only played it recently. I've played it recently. I've been playing it for like, what, over a year? But again, I've been playing it recently, and I love the franchise, so I don't think this did a service. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think MachineGames, if they make on their development of making Wolfenstein 3, Do you think they should keep some elements of Youngblood? Like, do you think they should keep that? Do you think they should keep the aspects that I mentioned into the new, into Wolfenstein 3? Do you think you should put that in there? Do you think you should just literally just ignore Youngblood and just stick with the traditional? Because again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Right? You know, all it worked the same way with Wolfenstein 2 and Wolfenstein: The New Order. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or you that kind of guy that says, you know what, forget Youngblood, ignore it, just stick with what you're good with, MachineGames. Or do you think that, you know, this game, do you think this game is simply going to be just a typically ignored type of game? Do you think this game is, they say it's the future of the franchise, but do you think this game is simply going to be a forgotten game, simply because, you know, it's really short? Again, the gameplay is kind of annoying, but let me know what you guys think. Let's conclude this segment. If you like this video, hit the like button. Share the video as well. Like I said, YouTube has you ranked independent political commentary. I don't see how this is gonna. I don't see how this is political, but again, it's a video game. It's a video game article, so I don't see how they're gonna rank it. But anyways, but anyways, share the video. That really does help out a lot. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the notification button as well, that we never miss an upload. I try to upload on a daily basis, but unfortunately some days I can't because of work. But you liking the video and sharing the video I do appreciate that. That really does help. But anyways, guys, for the last article, we're going to be talking about Hollywood and the entertainment industry. Again, it's going to be a little bit more, I wouldn't say political, in the sense that, you know, it's Disney. But hopefully you guys can stick around for that. Because again, I hate seeing really good franchises being mishandled. Like Youngblood, I thought that the gameplay was really annoying. I thought it did a disservice to the other games. The characters I don't have a problem with, just the gameplay in general. But in the next article, hopefully you guys can stick around, because this one hits a little bit more close to my childhood, because I grew up with this movie franchise, and I think it's really sad seeing Disney trying to do something that I always hated, and that is reboots and remakes. So hopefully you guys can stick around for that. But if you can't, have a good rest of the day, you guys. Stay awesome.